All right, we're back here on the Chase Thomas podcast, taping this late on a Thursday with Roswell's head football coach, Chris Prewett. Yes, he's here on this edition of the podcast. Chris, how is it going?
It's going good. I appreciate you having me on here.
Thanks for being here, man. Y'all have different rules than the dead period here in East Tennessee. Like they do their dead period the last week of June and the first week of July. I was talking to Coach Morris from South Forsyth last week, and I learned I was like, oh, y'all haven't even jumped into summer workouts yet, and Tennessee's been already up and at it and doing all that. It's weird that it's different. So have you been able to do much this summer yet?
Yeah, so we're 4 days in. If you can't tell
Okay.
my voice, we're 4 days in. So we've done. I think we're 4 days in. We've done two middle school workouts. So yeah, we're moving good. We're just trying to get back. We don't really like jump in like 100 miles an hour. We ease back into things and really try to ramp it up as we go. The first week's kind of like, let's remember basic stuff. Let's remember how to lift, how to run, stuff like that. So it's pretty elementary for our kid, for like our older guys, but our freshmen and like our sophomores that haven't done it in a while, they're the ones that are struggling right now. Most of our older guys are loving life right now. Now next week we'll ramp it up a little bit more and get after it a little bit more. But we got 3 weeks left in June, so we're gonna get after it and put in 15 good days.
Do you put any installs in yet, or how long are you gonna wait on that front?
Shoot, we start installing usually in like March. Honestly, like
Okay.
we go at it like classroom wise for at least a month, maybe a month and a half.
Hmm.
We may like get on the field like right before spring practice, and like we're not moving at all. It's just more or less like where to line up, where to stand, what are you looking at, that type of thing. So we really try to like teach instead of like assume. So we've even with our seniors, rising juniors, we go back to, if I'm the defensive end, this is where I stand like day one.
Mm.
This is who I'm looking at. So we really break it down and really try to reteach as much as possible. Like for our program, like coaching is teaching for us. So
Mm.
if we're going to say we're going to install something, we're going to reteach it like from nothing. Like we're installing it with our sixth, seventh, and eighth graders. So
Hmm.
so yeah, we've been at it, and we pretty much have a lot of our offense in. Obviously, it'll tweak week to week, and then our base defense is what we ran this spring. So we did a lot of stuff, but just trying to see what we can do and what we're good at, and frankly, what we're not good at. So just trying to see where we're at and who we are.
How much do you have to change year over year? Because it's different than obviously college and the NFL, where you can kind of pick your rosters and build your
Yeah.
rosters based on your personnel. I imagine at Roswell and just what you've learned going from DC to head coach, do you have to kind of like, because it's interesting you mentioned installing in March. I mean, you have a lot of time to figure things out and figure out who's going to work. But if you're doing installs that early, do you have to throw some stuff out that you practice in March where by August you're like, this is
Yeah.
not going to work with this group?
No, sure. Like we tell them, hey, like we may run this in spring and it may look
Yeah.
completely terrible and we'll never run it again. Now, like it's a good lesson. Like, as coaches, like we'll go and look at stuff and, there's certain things that we like and, I could sit there and watch, like your guys, your Tennessee defense. I could sit
Yeah.
there and watch those guys. It would look perfect for them, but now when we try to run it, it may look completely awful. We
Yeah.
don't have the same personnel as Tennessee does. So you have to kind of pick and choose things that you like and like you said, if we try to install it in March,
Hmm.
or if it's something like, hey, we're not picking up on this, like it's not clicking with our guys, like we'll throw it out. But it's just a chance, like spring wise, for us to go back and we kind of reevaluate the film from last year. What did we do good? What did we do good? What did we do wrong? And then, like you said, the biggest thing and the best part to me about like high school football, you're given the cards that you're dealt with. You
Hmm.
can't go and like pick and choose who you want. Um, so what you got to do is figure out what they do well, and make that your important part of your stuff. To give you an idea, like we had a quarterback last year who was about 6'3", 6'4", could throw it, could scan the field.
Mm.
Our returning quarterback's a little bit smaller, can't really scan the field as well. Now he has other things he can do well. So our offense basically turns from what our previous quarterback did well to what
Mm.
this guy can do. The same way we call plays like JV was. Tonight it's good to have an idea what our JV quarterback can do. Our
Mm.
varsity and JV quarterbacks don't run the same offense. Now we
Hmm.
have the same plays and the same formations and stuff like that, But as far as what we're reading, who we're looking at, we kind of control that because again, like our JV guy may not be able to do the stuff we do Friday. So we tweak it like that, and if there's stuff that our kids like, we'll try to work on that and work with that more. If it's a concept our receivers like, or our O line likes to block it a certain way, we'll try to make it work that way. And really, we take a lot of input from our players because they're the ones that have to do it, and they're the ones that see it firsthand. If they like something, that's our new favorite play. Because if the kids are believing in what you're doing, they'll play 100 miles an hour.
As a, I'm always curious when you go from coordinator to CEO type coach, like how hands on are you still with defense, and like how did you increase how hands on you got with the offense? Do you just kind of trust your offensive staff and you're just like, hey, if this works, I trust you guys. I'm pretty hands off, but if it makes sense to me, I'm good with it if it's working. Or have you found yourself more hands on since being elevated?
I think the biggest thing that I learned from being a DC,
Mm-hmm.
and it really applied when I got to be a head coach, was delegate and let people do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to hire, let's say if I'm a DC and we hire two guys and I want them to work on, let's just say, third down defense, like let those two guys learn. They may do it completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I'm going to do as well. And let's say, game one goes and we don't do so well. Maybe that's my point to come in and throw like a little suggestion and say like, hey, did you guys see this? Did you see this? Um, but really let people work and let them grow and let them continue to get better. I think we do a really good job. We let a lot of our younger coaches call JV and freshman games.
Hmm.
That's the hardest thing as a coach to do, is actually call the plays in the game.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. Um, so we let them. They'll go a half, and our coordinators and myself are usually up in the box, or at least we don't coach at all. We let them go. I want them to talk on the sideline with the guys. I want them to be on the field. Have to have to get the referee to come over and answer, do you want that penalty or not?
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing I think that threw me off when I became a head coach was, do you want the penalty or not? And I was sitting there looking around. I'm like, well, what's the situation? I was worried about the defensive stuff, and then I
Mm-hmm.
realized it's like, well, we got to pay attention to like everything now. And it's like easy to say that, but like in the middle of a game, you're trying to make an adjustment defensively, and you've missed two plays of offense. You don't really know what's going on, what the scenario is.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing for me, is when I got hired, hire good people and take the restraints off and let them work. It's not going to go perfect, or it's not going to go exactly the way I want it to, but you got to let people work and be themselves and really kind of take it and run with it and be, just a master of whatever they're doing. Again, our offense, has done a really good job, I think. And it's funny you mentioned, the hands off thing. I have to make myself go watch the offense practice.
Hmm.
I've always been the play caller defensively.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a GA and was moved from a GA to a DC overnight. We had a staff changeover, so I've been calling defenses since I've been 21 years old. So about 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So like I wasn't giving that up, and maybe someone thinks that it's a control part of me, but like I don't want to let that go. I want to be involved in some way in the game, and what I've had to learn is, again, the defensive coaches I hire and bring on, let them run practice. Let me go over and see what our offense is doing. Let's go hang out with the O linemen, talk with them, talk with the receivers, go hang out with the quarterbacks. Just try to not be around and be just a statue watching them, but like get involved with them, figure out what they're doing, figure out what their problems are. If you've ever been near a field, the O linemen and the DBs, I'm usually with the DBs. The O linemen and the DBs don't have the same problems. They don't
Yeah.
think about anything similar. So when you go over there, you get a whole other idea what's going on or what's not happening, and really just trying to get in front of people and make sure that I was so focused on the defense for so long that I needed to realize I needed to expand out and go figure out what makes this guy tick on offense. Who is he? What's he about? What's he like? What he doesn't like? It sounds silly. Figure out if he's dating somebody. Figure out what he's doing on the weekends. Just trying to
Yeah.
get a little bit of chunk. Anything outside of football, you'd be shocked at how open those kids are on the field when you ask anything but football questions. You
Yeah.
know, we try to in our program we try to build relationships. That's number one. Like if the kid doesn't believe in us and we don't believe in the kid, then what are we doing? You know, we're basically just throwing kids out there and hoping it works. So we really try to build relationships and figure out, um, you know, who they are. What do they do? Have brother, sister? How are your grades? Are they good? Are they good in math? Or do they hate math? You know, what are they good at? Do they have a girlfriend? Do they not have a girlfriend? Have they ever had a girlfriend? You know what I mean? Just those types of
Hmm.
things. We're just trying to figure out who they are. Again, like we're probably a little odd in that we don't like talk about football usually on the field. Like
Hmm.
if we're in a huddle and stuff like that, we're talking ball. But like if we're taking a break, we're taking a break and we're talking about something else. You know, just um, trying to whatever's important, we're focused on that. But if we're not focused on football, we're doing something else. So um, you know, we're probably I always tell people we're a little weird and we're probably a little bit different than most people. So
Well, it sounds
but
like
it
you have a
works for us.
healthier work-life balance. Like that's a big thing for you.
Yeah, no, it is. We're not like we're on the field 2 hours max. If we're on the field past 2 hours, we may just stop practice
Huh.
and finish up. I mean, we're excuse me, we like to just get done. And it's not like we're trying to skip out on work. You know, like when
Mm.
we're there, we're working, but we're also not going to go home or going to sit in the office for 3 hours after practice and change and trying to reinvent the wheel. Now, like
Mm.
on Saturdays when we meet, like we're meeting from 7 o'clock to about 4 o'clock. Like we're working and we're there
Hmm.
and we're staying there and we're focused. But like all the work for the week, we like to do Saturday and Sunday. By Wednesday, like we should be done. We should feel great about everything. We should have backup plans. If this doesn't work, this is what we're going at. If we try to go through every scenario. By the end of Wednesday, we want to feel good staff wise and make sure that we feel good about playing if we had to on Thursday. And
Hmm.
our Thursday practices, let's review some things, let's fine tune some things, and let's make sure our substitutions are right. Just basic stuff. Um, but no, I mean, I think one of my biggest role models I've probably had when I was a GA was Matt Mummy,
Hmm.
who's I guess he's the OC at Colorado State now, and
Is he
we
relation to
used to
Hal?
be. Yeah, it's his son.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, and to give you an idea of our times for work before Coach Mummy came in was
Mm.
anywhere from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. And we like grinded every single day, and we were 5-5, 4-6. Like it
Yeah.
didn't matter. It didn't matter. We could have spent 24 hours in there. We were going to be 5-5. When Coach Mummy came in, it was just like it was almost like a breath of fresh air. Like he'd come in and say, like, you know, what are you guys looking at? It's not going to change. Like you watch the video once, like move on. You don't have to watch it 15 times to figure out that our corner is just not athletic enough to make that play.
Yeah.
He's doing his best. He's just not there. So we ended up stopping anywhere around 9, 10 o'clock. But just having that mentality of like, if we're here, let's work. If work's done, go home. Like I tell our staff like every time, like if you have a kid, you miss something, like you need to be fired. It's like I'm not going to fire you, but you need to be fired. Like you need to be there. It's like
Mm.
you can't make up that time that you missed. If you miss a softball game on Saturday morning because you need to be here, like you can do the hour of work later. But
Mm.
like go to the softball game, be there, be a dad. And I think it's important for our kids to see that. Like
Yeah.
we have a lot of young coaches on our staff. Our youngest coach is, or sorry, our oldest coach is like 37.
Hmm.
But like most of them have like young families, and they see us interact with our wives and our kids all the time. And I think it's important to see that we have guys that have older kids, we have guys that have younger kids, but like they're always there and they're a dad first. Like to me, that's important. It's a big deal. You want to be there, and for our kids to see that, I think that's something that they may not notice now, but they'll think about it later on. That even when practice was over, Coach Prewett still had to go throw the ball with a 4-year-old on the field and go chase the 1-year-old around. So
Mm.
that's important for us. And like I said, we're different than a lot of people, and we get that. But I also think that's maybe something that sets us apart.
If Netflix came to you and was like, "Hey, we want to do part two of the Valdosta miniseries, and we want to follow you guys around for a fall," would you do it?
I mean, like I think any to me, like any publicity for your school is good, right?
Hmm.
Like, um, I don't know, I don't know if they'd want to follow me around because I'm pretty boring now. Like some of our assistants, they may like hanging out with them better. But
Yeah.
like my life's pretty boring. I'm either at the field house or at my house. So there's not
Wait,
a
what do
lot
you do
of,
for fun? What do you do for fun?
man, we hang out as a family. Like we have a 4 year old and a 1 year old.
Yeah.
So me and my wife, we hang out and we'll hang out with them and like we like to do stuff, but it's also like you have to think about when you take two kids somewhere,
Right.
you got to figure out all of that. And we like
The
to
4-year-old's not ready
think,
to babysit the 1-year-old yet.
nah, 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 nah. You don't want the 4.5 year old she already runs the house. You don't want her to get any more
Oh,
power in
does
the
she?
house. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you're
Teenage
gonna be
is
a
going to be
pushover. This is gonna be
teenage
a problem for
teenager
you.
teenager years are going to be rough in this house.
I could see that.
My wife's a strong woman, so
Mm.
there'll be some drag out ones there. So
You'll be
in
like, "Hey,
about
sorry, I got to go to the field house. I wish I could
yeah.
be here
Well,
for her,
I've
but
I've already told people. They ask me, is like, you had two girls, don't you want a boy? And I'm like, I got 100 boys every year I got to take care of and monitor
yeah,
grades and hang out with them, and I got to make sure they graduate. I was like, the two girls are enough. Like they're good. I'm good with them. They're a handful, and they're
so you're
fun to be
done,
around. But
two and
yeah,
done.
we're done. Yeah, we're
Mm.
good. Yeah, we're good. We're
There
we're,
you
we're
go.
good. The girls are fun. The 4 year old's just now getting into stuff, so she
Mm.
was at flag football camp this week and
Okay.
loved every minute of that. So she's getting into stuff and trying to see what she likes and what she doesn't like. I tell people all the time, I didn't plan on it, but I think we have the little girl from Remember the Titans, if you remember that little
Yeah.
girl.
Hey, what's her name? Hayden Panettiere. Yeah.
That I think we didn't try
Yeah.
to do this, but we have the second coming of her.
Oh, so she's already like all over the field. Just she's going to be on the sidelines yelling at officials. This is going to
Oh,
be a
for
thing.
sure, for sure, for sure. Yep. Yeah, she has two words of advice for me every week. It's not like do well. It's not
Yeah.
like have fun. It's don't lose. Those are the only two words she
It's
tells
good
me.
advice.
It's great. It's great advice. It hits everything you need in two words.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Did you cross paths with Malik Willis? Were you there at that point or no?
So no. Well, unfortunately, I probably crossed paths with him, but I was on the opposite side.
Was that when you were at
We
Johns
played
Creek?
correct. We played them in
Okay.
a scrimmage one year.
Mm.
I don't even think we shouldn't say we played them. We were on the field while they ran past us. But the bet that I got a chance to coach his brother. He has a younger brother that's
Uh-huh.
that's playing at a JUCO in Mississippi right now.
Okay.
And so I've talked to him a couple times and met him.
Mm.
Just fantastic. Both kids, like incredibly awesome, fantastic kids. They're so fun to be around, and anything that Malik does won't surprise me. I could
Hmm.
see him being the best quarterback in the league, all the way to if he doesn't make it in the league, he's going to be successful at whatever he does.
Yeah.
He's wired that way.
I think you landed in a good spot where you don't have to start right away in Tennessee, and
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good spot for him. So it should be interesting. It's also just like one of those things. Do you tell kids? I'm curious because this is something that we see now a lot. Is just it always. I mean, hey, look, if you want to come to Tennessee, like come to Tennessee. I don't care how loaded up we are on the edge or on the interior, how many receivers we have. Come to Tennessee. I'm about it. But in general, I think it's interesting because like when you go up and down the list, like Malik, he's a Liberty kid. He goes and he's drafted. You have two North Dakota State quarterbacks who go in the last 10 years in the first round. You have Jared Goff going number one overall from Kyle. Like you can go anywhere and you can be an NFL player. Like they'll find you if you're good. Is that something that you
Yeah.
tell these kids when they like being in the South and being in the SEC country where it's like, oh, I want to play for Bama, I want to play for Georgia, I want to play for these schools, and you're like, man, there's not. You can go be a household name. You can go to Colorado State and be a great player. You can go to Western Michigan. You can go be a Sky Moore. You can go be a Christian Watson. Like there are opportunities everywhere. Do you like encourage like don't be so focused on like the big Power Five SEC schools because there's a lot of opportunity everywhere else.
I think I mean, you're speaking to a Division III football player, and
Yeah.
again, I'm not an athlete to say anything like this, but like there were some really really good football players that were at our place, and we played
Mm.
against some really really good football players. So like I always challenge our kids when they like are interested, like your freshman sophomore, you think you want to play college football. I said go to a Division I game, go to one or what are they, whatever FCS,
Yeah.
FBS, D2, D3. Go to one game at each level and
Mm.
tell me like how different it is because it's not like drastically too different.
Mm.
Like there's guys everywhere. Every team is loaded, especially in Georgia. If you go to
Yeah.
West Georgia, that team's loaded. If
Mm.
you go to Berry College up in Rome, loaded. They're all
Hmm.
good. If you go to Kennesaw State, loaded. You
Mm.
go to Georgia Tech, they're good. You know, you go to Georgia, obviously good. You know, Georgia, everywhere you go, there's talent. So I mean, ultimately, like when I and I the biggest thing I try not to do is I don't want to get in the recruiting process and tell you where to go.
Hmm.
Like that's the worst thing I
Do they
can do.
ask you though a lot?
I mean, they ask questions. You know, they want to
Right.
know. You know, is this team serious? Is this not? You know, they want to know. They just they. It's really like the first time you do the recruiting process, the first time you've ever done the most important process of your life. You know,
Right.
and it's like it's there's just questions that you don't know. But to me, the most important thing is like find the right fit, find the right
Mm.
fit academically, and find the right place that you want to be at. Like for your long term? Like, do they have the major you want to be? Do they have a network of alumni that work with the school? So, I mean, because I even joke with the kids, is like, there's some guys I've even told, like, I'm not saving your number. I know you're going to be somewhere next year. Like,
Mm.
you'll call me and we'll figure this all out where you're at and everything. But like, go to a place that has a system set up for you to be successful. Like anything but football. Don't worry about the football. Like the football's great everywhere you
Mm.
go. Like you're going to work hard. You're going to do great things. You're going to play. You're going to have a fun time, but like you need the place that's going to take care of you academically and take care of that. You know, I hate to say the saving term, but like the next 4 years. But
Mm.
that's really it is. It's like you have to find a system, a setup, a network of people that can help you, not just with you're there and they love on you because you're playing there, but like find a place that you can enjoy throughout your life, um, because it does matter. Um, Ultimately, like with our players, I think we get a weird mix of like we have really, really good players, but
Mm.
we also have a lot of kids that are undersized.
Huh.
And I think that's where a lot of our toughness and our physical nature comes from. A lot of our kids are an inch too short,
Hmm.
2 inches too short. They're 20 pounds lighter. They're 2/10 of a faster, slower on a 40 than someone tells them to be. Now, like when we play, like there's 11 people at the ball. Our linemen are finishing down the field. Our running backs are finishing runs. We're trying to embarrass people every play.
Mm.
But like we may not have the rankings and the hype and all that jazz. But like I always tell people, you know, turn on the tape. The tape won't lie. And you know, like you said, you can go down a list of guys that have made an impact, at the pro level, D3, D2, one AA. It doesn't matter. Like
Jerry Rice, the best player
if
of all
you're
time.
good,
Mississippi Valley State. Like you can. It
if you're
doesn't
good,
matter.
they'll find you. Yeah, if you're
Mm.
good and you work hard enough, they'll find you. And I think that's ultimately, you know, if it's just different because like with our, you know, when you look at the number, I think it's like 3% of the high school team is
Hmm.
going to play 4 years in college. So like we usually are 110, 120 kids. So we're saying like three to five people on our team will play 4 years in college.
Hmm.
Now, like we got 15, 20 kids that say they want to play. Um, you know, 2 years ago we had 10 kids sign a scholarship and play. And I think four of them are still left. You know,
Hmm.
it happens so quick. Um, I mean, because it's tough. You know, especially we're lucky too when you have coaches with different backgrounds. We have two or three D3 guys on our staff. We have two
Hmm.
JUCO guys, two guys that went to JUCO and went to Division One, JUCO to Jacksonville State. You know, we have different levels on within our staff. So, like, if you have a question on JUCO, like our O line coach was at Georgia Military and then played at Georgia.
Hmm.
So, you know, if you want to know about a JUCO, ask him. If you want to know about Division 3, go ask the guy that played Division 3. You want to know about D2, go ask the guy that played in the middle of nowhere, Missouri, and played quarterback. You know what I mean? So it's just I think people don't realize that the football is so spread out because we live in a bubble.
Hmm.
And I've talked with recruiters about this, I think the most important thing is if you can just get out of your bubble and go somewhere, you'll realize that there's just so much out there.
Hmm.
Every FBS place is super nice and they put a lot
Hmm.
of money into it. But what are they doing outside of football that's going to help you is what I try to tell them to figure out. And just talk with anyone outside of the football visit that you're on. Go talk to
Hmm.
anyone outside of that, and you'll get an idea of what the school's really, really like.
Hmm. In terms of what you saw this past year, what were you happy with how 2021 went? Because you started in a weird year, man. Obviously, with the
Oh
COVID
yeah,
pandemic in
yeah.
2020, like, yeah, I imagine that was not your ideal way of kicking off your head coaching career, right?
No, I mean it is what it is. I mean, an opportunity came up, and
Yeah.
sometimes the best thing you can do is take it and run with it. So,
Mm,
I was excited. I was really excited for those kids. I just wanted them to have a regular year. Honestly,
mm.
I had been when I
Did
got
it
to
feel regular
Roswell.
last year?
Yeah, it did. It
Mm,
did. We didn't have too many issues, honestly. Um, you always had the random scare, like,
mm,
you were worried someone was sick, and like, is it a cold? Is it flu? Is it COVID?
mm.
You just don't know. Um, but like the first year, um, when I got to Roswell, those kids were freshmen, so they came to Roswell the same time I did. So I wanted them to have a great senior year and just play. We made it to the second round. I thought we did well. Um, we just ran up against a good team. The next year, like, the whole goal was like, we got to push further, we got to push harder, and do some different things. And we were able to have a good year.
Mm.
There was obviously, you lose three times, by 32 points, I think, combined. So that's six plays all year out of over 2,000 that you go from 13-0 to 10-3.
Mm.
But we lost to three really really good teams. I mean, they were
Yeah.
three of the Final Four teams in 7A, and um, the Georgia 7A is, I don't care what anybody tells you, I don't care what ranking you look at, it's the hardest classification to play in,
Yep.
week in, week out. And I just told our kids, one of the things we talked about was, when you make the playoffs, like, it's a great year. People are going to pat you
Mm.
on the back and tell you did good. If you win a game, everyone will tell you did great. But, like, deep down, like, if you work harder and you work hard enough, you can get past that. And our kids last year bought into that. We had a small group of seniors. We had 14 seniors, which is a small group for us. But I realized, midway through the year, we're just talking about our leadership continued to get better, and got better. There was 8 of those kids that had worn a Roswell R since they had played in second grade.
Mm.
So, like, they had been in our program since second grade. The other ones kind of joined in as we went. And those 8 kids, like, they weren't going to lose. That R meant that much to them. Is like, it didn't matter who we played, when, where, how, what it looked like. If we had a second left and the ball, we had a shot to win. And I think that showed in our second round game when we beat North Cobb. We had 7 seconds left on this. There was 6 seconds on the 6-yard line or something like that.
Mm.
And I said, what more do you want? You have one play to win a game. That's all you can ask for ultimately, right? So it was funny. We had a scenario over the summer. We were literally in that position.
Mm.
Again, not that I'm a 7-on-7 fanatic, but we were at a
I
7-on-7
haven't met a
thing.
coach who is.
Yeah, I don't think it's just a thing
Mm.
you gotta go through. We had one play. We had to win. If we won the game, if we got X number of yards, we won. If not, we
Mm.
lost, and we went for the win. We're gonna win. We're not gonna go here to tie and split something. So we ended up losing the 7-on-7 thing.
Mm.
Second scenario came up, we ended up winning. So
Hmm.
I think the biggest thing that happened was our seniors continued to develop. I think we had 7 of the kids that hadn't played a down until they started as a senior. All of them were all region players,
Hmm.
other than one that got hurt. Um, so I just think it really kind of reinforces what we're doing, and it makes sure, kind of makes you realize you're on the right track. Um, you know, Getting that far, I think, showed a lot of our kids just how close you are, but how far you're away from getting to the top and holding that trophy at the end.
Mm.
We've competed well and played. Again, just didn't fall our way in the third round, but that's the goal. Is we really talk about, like, June 6th to December 10th is our season. So we've really put that in our kids' head and really focused on playing 15 games, and you know hopefully everybody's all up on the stage celebrating together at the end of the year.
Well, you've got 2 big non-region games on the road to start things off. It looks like would you say your schedule's a little bit more difficult than last year?
Sure, yeah, we
Yeah.
wanted it difficult. Yeah, we wanted it hard.
Okay.
Yeah, we wanted to see where we're at, and we opened with a really really good Denmark team.
Mm.
Um, they're going to be really really good. I know that, and I haven't had a chance to watch a ton of games of them, but
I had Paul
I
Mary on a
know.
couple weeks ago. You should have
Oh
let me
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and I could have asked him, and I got some game plan for you.
I just I just know that they're going to be very physical and they're going to be good.
Yeah.
They're going to be well coached. I've seen them a couple times on other tape,
Hmm.
and they just blow me away because they're very physical. Very you can tell they're coached really well. We play Centennial, which is a team that's continuing to get better, and it's a inner city rivalry game, so it's
Hmm.
always tough. And then we play Marietta and Milton back to back, and really again trying to see where we're at. I mean, they're two
Yeah.
good teams. They past 3 years they both played for a state title, so we're ready to go and see where we're at, especially on the road.
Do you go into the year though? Do you look at it and you're like, when do you? At what point do you go? Okay, when you've seen guys and you know where you're going to be roster wise and depth chart wise, and you're like, okay, this is about where we should be. I know you talk about the playoffs, and if you make the playoffs, that's a huge, huge thing. But do you internally like have your expectations, or you talk to your coaching staff of like, this is where I think we can be? Do you keep it realistic early on, or do you not put
Yeah, I
any
mean, I
caps
just
on it?
think you really have to. I think with especially high school kids,
Mm,
and you really have to keep it a week to week thing. Like
yeah.
it's a cliche thing, and like I probably rolled my eyes when when I was a player, like thinking
Mm,
about it. But it really is like if you can focus. We talk about it like a one game season. Like
mm,
this is the game that you have to win. And this is the game you have to do your best in. Obviously, like, and I hate to use the word we have to win. We've
mm.
kind of eliminated that word from like our vocabulary at all. Like we talk about like do your best. So like what's
Process
your
over
best?
results.
Yeah, like it's not like because if you go in the game and you lose, for whatever reason, then it's just like the mentality part of it's like, oh, we failed, and it's like we could have done everything right, and if we weren't the better team, then like we may have lost if we played them 15 times.
Right.
You just never know. Like some games, like you said, you kind of have an idea. Some games you kind of have a hunch that you may be outmanned or out.
Mm,
Just but you try to find ways around it. And I think again, it's a one week to week thing. Um, a lot of our coaches and a lot of our assistants do a lot of our scouting moving forward. And
mm,
I used to be when I was a DC, I used to be that way. I'd go check out everybody, see what they did, see how they were, how many yards did they put up, and all that.
mm,
And it's like we just have if we can focus like week to week, we'll be fine. And really like the way we kind of approach things, like if we just don't beat ourselves, that takes away so much of the issue. And
mm.
we beat ourselves by looking ahead, thinking about what other people are doing, thinking about how we're perceived by other people. Like, and if we just focus on the team we're playing and play, it's amazing what like if you just keep everyone focused,
Mm.
you'll have a better shot at winning things because you're like you said, it's about the process, not necessarily like we have to win this week. We just need to play good, like and play well. We already know what they're going to be in. We know what we're going to be in. Let's just play and go do that better than they are.
What do you think is gonna be your deepest position group this fall? Do you already have an idea?
I mean, honestly, like I like our receiver group a ton. We
Mm,
have a ton of guys that can do some things. You know, we were, we're fortunate. We didn't lose a ton last year. Our
mm,
leading receiver graduated, um, but other than that, like probably the next 6 or 7 guys we have back, including I include basically any skill guy. Our running
mm,
backs are in there too because we throw them the ball and they catch it out of the backfield. We put them out wide. you know they're a good group, and there's a good mix of um, very loud talker leadership type. You have
mm,
the soft spoken guys. You have the guys that just work. You have the guys that you got to like get. You have to ask 15 times to just get anything out of, but they just work hard. And I
mm,
think that's one of the better groups on our team. They've worked really well, and like I said, there's a lot of talent. I mean, we could go 2, 3 deep. I think.
mm,
They may not be the size you would necessarily want, but like they've worked hard and they've been in our program and they've put a lot of work in, and they've gotten better. Last
yeah.
year being able to play, we had a weird deal 2 years ago where we probably didn't play all of our JV and freshman games,
Mm,
um, and that was the biggest thing last year is having reps for those kids and letting them go
mm,
play, let them screw it up, let them be successful, but just let them play. Um, and they were able to have good leadership last year and were able to learn a lot because they played a lot.
mm,
There was times last year we ended up with all juniors and sophomores on the field. We we were laughing and breaking down film one day. It was like we were in our North Cobb game, and we had I think two sophomores, two juniors, and a sophomore running back in.
Mm-hmm.
We're going against every kid on North Cobb's team as a Power Five skill player.
Little lot
they're
man
all
there.
yeah, and but our kids competed, and that's the
Yeah.
thing is, it goes back to the chip on the shoulder thing, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
not the tallest, they're not the biggest, they're not the fastest, but put us all in the field, 11-on-11, and let us play.
Interesting. Is there one game that you have circled this fall that you're most excited about?
I mean, at Roswell Milton is the
Yeah.
game every year. It's the game of all games. It's the one that
Have you
um,
heard some
you
crazy
know.
stuff from fans, like going into the game week or after the game or before? Has anyone said it? Like, has it? What is it
Yeah.
like?
I mean, so when I grew up in Warner Robins, Georgia, if you know where that is,
Oh yeah,
it's
I know Warner
right in
Robins,
the middle.
Northside
Yeah,
Warner Robins. We played y'all in a state title game, or that's where did Chauncey Stuckey go there?
he did. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that like that's where I grew up, and like when I was growing up, Warner Robins Northside game was the game of the year,
yeah.
like every year. Um, and I remember when I came up to Roswell, people were telling me it's like this is gonna be a great, it's just such a good rivalry. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, you don't have any clue. Like,
Hmm.
go down to Valdosta Lounge and tell me it's a good rivalry.
Yeah.
So we literally walk out for the pregame, and I kind of just looked around, and it just felt like there was tension in the air. And I
Hmm.
tell people, it's like that is it's one of the best rivalries I've been a part of.
Hmm.
Um, the two communities have been right next to each other and competed in everything for 70 years.
Hmm.
And we don't wear red in our locker room. We don't wear blue in the locker room. Like that's just a rule. Like
Hmm.
we kicked a middle schooler out earlier because he had a red shirt on. We're like, hey, go find like a new shirt or something. Like, hey, I'll give you a
Hmm.
shirt. Anything but that. Like anything but
Hmm.
that color. Um, and it's just
So
one of
St.
those
Patrick's
games
Day
where
is a hit at Roswell High School. That is the
yeah, for sure.
jam.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody's got a green shirt. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's just one of those games, it's a competitive game. And the best part about it is the game is so well coached, both sides.
Hmm.
It's never, and I think that's the thing that probably separates it from others. Again, not that it's not, other rivalry games aren't well coached, but um, we both teams know each other. We know the personnel. We know what the other team is going to run. It's just literally who can execute better
Hmm.
and who can play better that night. And they've had our number the past couple of years. So
What's the
I
size
tell people
of the school difference? Is it pretty close?
it's pretty close. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not too big. It's not too much difference.
Mm.
So I've already heard it plenty of times that we need to get that done. So
There
that's
you
on the
go.
list of things. That's on the list of things, and that's what I said. It's better. It's good to have some pressure. It makes things happen. If everything's kind of passive and there's no tension, then you're not going to get anything done.
There you go. We'll end on this.
Yeah.
Do you do the Roswell? Is the Roswell still at 5 thing still a thing? I used to go to that back in the
Yeah,
day.
it's a thing. It's every Thursday. I can't say that I've
Yeah,
been in a while. No,
yeah. It's a pretty
my
good
wife and
time.
I,
It gets
my
pretty
wife and I,
packed over there.
yeah, they shut a good portion of the street down. That
Yeah.
downtown place is so awesome. Either way,
Hmm.
like even with when it's not that, it's such a nice little area. And
Do you get
as I tell
stopped when
people,
you're out with the fam? Are they like, "Hey, coach, what was that call
they're
earlier? I don't know what you're doing."
it's no, it's honestly like it's random, but they're
Yeah.
mostly supportive. Like there's not too many crazy people that'll ask that. I don't know. There's times where like I'm sure they think that, but maybe not out
Yeah.
loud. They won't, but it's all good. It's a part like if they ask questions and they care, right? So
Yeah.
you want to help them out, figure out what's going on. So it's all good. It's as
7A
long as we're
football,
all
man.
pushing. Yeah, I mean, you got to do it. Man, it is what it is. They said maybe sometimes maybe I'm not thinking right. Maybe I need to get hit upside the head, and they can help me with that.
Do you miss South Georgia at all?
I mean, it's like you miss home. Like
Yeah.
you've always it's just a place that you've always grown up, and we go. My wife and I are both from Warner Robins, so we go back
Huh.
randomly. But no, I mean, I love where we're at. It's such a good place, and
Mm.
it's awesome for the family. Like there's so much to do around here, and
Mm.
there's an endless amount of things to do, and it's good. Like my like I was telling you earlier, our 4-year-old like goes into does flag football camp and does
Mm.
softball here, cheerleading there. So it's just there's a lot of stuff to do, and no, my wife and I really have enjoyed being around here, and we moved into the area like in October of 2020,
Mm.
and that's been good. It's really easy. Like we usually spend when we come have a JV or freshman game, that's usually hang out in the end zone and eat dinner and try to be around as much as possible. And being 3 minutes from your house is always nice.
There you go. What's your go-to dinner?
Yeah. For the games or just in
No, just in
general?
general. Oh, do you have like a
In
do you have
general.
like a superstitious thing where like you have to do this on game day every week?
No, no,
No.
I probably would be too forgetful to remember. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
if it's not like just something that deals with directly with football. Like we
Yeah.
normally on Fridays we go and like read books to like elementary schools and
Huh.
stuff like that. So we usually take like 10 kids and or 10 players and 5 cheerleaders, and we go to like one of our elementary schools and hang out with them for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I don't have any superstitions or anything like that.
Okay.
I mean, um, I like to be laid back, and
Mm-hmm.
um, that I always tell people that like 5:30 to 7:29 time is just brutal because
Hmm.
I'd just rather play and then instead of go to the warm ups and do all that jazz. I just want
So
to get
you're
out
like
there and
bouncing
play.
around. You're getting jittery and stuff at that time.
Yeah, I just want to play. We've
Yeah.
been talking about this thing for a week and a half, or over a week. So let's go.
Mm.
We're all here. Let's just play.
Are you a coffee guy?
Always, yeah.
What do you put in your coffee? Is it black or do you put stuff in
We get a little bit of color in it and about a
it?
half a
Okay.
scoop of sugar. Yeah.
How many do you do a day? How many are we talking here?
I mean, I just drink one of those like big Tervis cups. Nothing. So whatever that
But do you
is.
do one of those or is that getting refilled at any point during the day?
No, no, no. It's just one. Yeah. We don't need more than one. Yeah, one's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
One is a good number. Yeah.
There you go. Chris, how did the good folks support the Roswell football program and what you got going on this summer?
Yeah, I mean, if you follow us on Twitter, I know we have either our Roswell recruiting page or
Mm.
my page. Those are two good places to kind of see what we're up to. And then, our website, I think, is pretty easy to find. Just search Roswell High School football, and probably the first one that pops up. Any good words or anything like that. I do want to mention, like, I'd be missed out if I didn't mention. We had one of our players die last year at the end of the
Yeah.
year, and we're we have. I know there's still some different things that we're trying to do for them, so that'll be on the lookout for that. And if you knew anything about Robbie Roper, I looked down because I got his wristband on and his
Mm-hmm.
signature on my hand every day. So um, if when we have stuff like that, there'll be places to help the family out and stuff like that. And just remember a fantastic young man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for the time this evening. I greatly appreciate it. We'll have to check back in again soon.